Well, hello YouTube, welcome back to The Life's Good. A couple of videos ago I promised that I would be doing a special on the paraffin heater, and I was out here today and having a bit of a tidy up in the greenhouse, and I thought I'd take the opportunity today to make the video and introduce you to the paraffin heater and explain a little bit about its use, its fuel, a little bit of maintenance, and how I go about using this to heat my greenhouse while I've got tender plant seedlings and newly sown seeds early in the season when it's a little bit too cold weather-wise for them to germinate and grow. So we need to provide a little heat in the greenhouse. I showed you before about a year ago how I insulated my greenhouse using bubble wrap, and as you can see I've actually left that bubble wrap on. I think it's still suitable for the coming season. It acts as a great insulator and helps to retain heat inside this small greenhouse. And incidentally, this greenhouse is only 6 foot wide and 4 foot deep, so from the front door to the back wall is 4 feet. Perfectly adequate for what I need. I am considering adding another greenhouse to the plot, but that's a subject for another video. And if you hear any squeaks and squawks, that'll be Daisy. She's right down at my feet here. She likes to see what's going on, and I've no doubt she'll be interrupting us with a few stories and what she's up to in the garden. Right, so the paraffin heater. I buy paraffin in 4-litre drums. This one I've had for a couple of years. Now you can buy these at some filling stations and DIY stores and other outlets, and they vary in price, but around about the £10 for a 4-litre pot of paraffin. And this is what fuels this stove. I'll just show you the basic components of this heater. This is the complete heater. It has a heat diffuser on the top, which just clips on the top of this tall chimney. So that actually helps to dissipate heat into the air. This tall chimney just clips into the top like that. It's just a hollow tube, and helps to send the heat up. And again, this gets hot, and through convection the heat again dissipates into the greenhouse. Now this is the base. Now this is the business part of this little heater. You've got a filling cap on the side, and this is where you add the fuel. It's a screw cap, and if I can get it off any sense, there we go. It's got a screw cap, and you pour the paraffin into this hole, and I always use a funnel for that purpose, and then you don't spill paraffin all over everywhere. So that's where you put your fuel. On the top here you've got your burner, and on this particular stove, this burner, if I can lift it up and show you, has got 2 wicks, and if I wind them up you can see those. There's one, and adjacent to it is the second. These wicks are probably about a foot long. They're good 10 or 12 inches long, and they lie down inside the reservoir here and actually inside the paraffin. And what happens is the paraffin soaks up these wicks and these become saturated with the paraffin. So when you actually light the stove, more or less you are burning the paraffin, not the wick. If you set it wrong or you light them dry, you will burn the wicks away. You really don't want to do that. You want them to last a long time. So, having filled it with the fuel, if it's the first time you're using it, I would suggest standing it to the side and leaving it for an hour or so to allow the paraffin to soak up those wicks. If you've had it burning before, you set it aside for the winter, again, on first filling, give it a little while for the paraffin to soak up those wicks. Now once it's ready for firing, once it's ready to light, you need to wind the wicks up a little way so that you can use your lighter or a match, and you just light the top of that and you'll see it starts to burn straight away. Now that is quite smoky. It's a licking flame that is not suitable for continual burning. What you do now is once it's lit, you reduce the height of the wick. You wind it back down, both of them, you wind back down into the top of that burner until you get a small, gentle, smooth flame. And that is probably what you're after. I'll just lift it forward for you. They're both burning, but they're just a gentle, steady flame. If they're licking up, creating lots of smoke, you're going to burn away your wick, you're going to soot up your greenhouse, create lots of fumes, and it will not be suitable for continual burning to create heat in your greenhouse. If you wind the wicks down too far, there's a danger they can fall inside this base container. Try to avoid that, because once they've fallen in, it's a heck of a job fishing around through this small hole trying to get them back out. I've done it, believe me, it is a pain. So try not to wind them down too far. So you don't want them burning too high, you don't want to wind it down too far, you just want that nice gentle flame burning on the top of that stove. The chimney part has got a little sight hole in here so you can actually see the state of the flames inside, and this just sits now on top of that burner and clicks in place. You can look through here and you can see, I'm not sure if you can see this, you may be able to, but if you look through the hole you can actually see the flames inside, so you can see how high or low those flames are burning. Now this part is the heat diffuser. This in this case it's got two skins of metal. I believe this is an alloy of some description, and what happens here is the heat of the flames heats up this chimney. It's actually already quite warm. I can feel that getting quite warm there, and this part, the diffuser, clicks on the top, and it's the inner skin that goes onto these two little clips on the top of the chimney. You just line it up if you can and pop it into those two clips, and that clicks in place on the top of there. Now what happens here is the heat coming up the chimney and dissipating through the chimney also heats up this part, and this disperses a lot more heat into the greenhouse. It's not just the flames creating the heat. The chimney and this diffuser on the top all get warm and all add to the heating element of this stove. In terms of cost, as I said, that bottle of paraffin cost me about £10. It varies. You can probably buy it cheaper. You may have to pay more depending where you go, where you shop. But I bought that a couple of years ago. I didn't use much the first year. Last year I used this stove in this greenhouse, and I think I must have used approximately a half of that bottle. So last year I used 2 litres of paraffin in here to keep my greenhouse warm during the coldest periods, in order to protect the tender plants, seedlings and so on that were growing in this greenhouse. So that cost me about £5 to run early spring last year, which isn't too bad as far as I'm concerned. It's a fairly inexpensive way to heat a greenhouse. I do have an electric alternative. I've got a small oil-filled radiator. In fact, it's behind me now. I'll just lift it to show you. This little oil-filled one, getting the lead caught up here, guys. This one is quite good. It's just a small, I don't know what the wattage is on this. I think it might be a 3 kilowatt or something of that nature. Oil-filled radiator. It doesn't say the wattage. I'm sure it was about a 3 kilowatt or something of that nature. Oil-filled radiator. This is quite good, but again, while you've got this switched on, you're using electricity. Now, depending on where you live and what your rates are, I don't know if this is more expensive than the paraffin or less. The inclination with this was to leave it on all the time. But what I did find, there's a setting on the side, on here, it's got a low to high, and I actually left it on just about halfway. I was using this at the halfway setting, and it was quite sufficient to keep the frost off of this greenhouse. It was maintaining the internal temperatures of about 4, 5, 6 degrees Celsius. So quite good in that respect. So nothing got spoiled by cold weather. But the greenhouse, sorry, the paraffin heater is the one that I like using. Now, I do stand it up a height. I've got a little stool I'm sitting on here. I stand that on there so that I'm heating the upper area of the greenhouse and not all the floor area and the lower area when nothing's growing. I need the heat in the top, so I always stand this on top of either the bench or on this little stool. The other thing you want to do is not to put it too close to the sides, because bubble wrap is plastic. It will melt, it can catch fire, and you really don't want to be setting fire to the interior of your greenhouse. So be cautious where you stand it, guys. Be very careful, away from any combustible materials. Keep the area around it free of clutter. Allow plenty of air circulation around here. And I think if you purchase one of these to heat your greenhouse, you will not be disappointed. They're easy to use. Just be careful how you use them. Don't have the flame too high. Don't wind the wick down inside. And be very careful of this element. Once it's been running for a while, it will be very hot. So do not go and put your hands straight on there whilst it's working. If you do have to lift the chimney off or do anything to it, I would suggest wearing some leather gloves, or certainly some flame-proof or insulated gloves to protect your skin, protect your hands from burns. So, paraffin heater, easy to run, easy to use, fairly economical, and this little chap is probably about 10, 12 years old now, and works fine. Works for me anyway. If you've got any questions about this, guys, please ask. I've just sort of whizzed through that quite quickly. I do ramble a little bit. I lose track of where I'm going sometimes. But I hope that's been helpful to you. And yeah, if you get one, be interested to know how you get on. And let me know if you find it economical. Make a comment. Any comments. I do like comments on my videos, good or bad. So if you've got anything to say, if you've got anything to share with us here in the Life's Good, please do so. Well, that's it for today, guys. Just a quick one, a little special on the paraffin heater. I've got a few more things to do, so I'm going to crack on today. And if there's anything of interest that I think you might like, I will certainly be using the camera and or the phone to record what I'm up to. So come back soon. We'll see you again soon. And don't forget, if it's your first time here, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell. And it'd be great to see you again soon. So whatever you're doing, you be safe, you be happy, take care of yourselves. Bye-bye now. What you doing in there? Huh? You're being cheeky. Having fun? Well, come on then. Coming out? I have no idea how you got in there, girl.